崎、さらわれた妹を探すため危険な町サウスタウンに乗り込む。コバートガルシ、寮の親友、そしてライバル、寮と共にサウスタウン。サウスタウンで彼らを待ち受ける者は寮高崎、さらわれた妹を探すため危険な町サウスタウンに乗り込む。コバートガルシ、寮の親友、そしてライバル、寮と共にサウスタウン。サウスタウンで彼らを待ち受ける者は寮高崎、さらわれた妹を探すため危険な町サウスタウンに乗り込む。コバートガルシ、寮の親友、そしてライバル、寮と共にサウスタウン。サウスタウンで彼らを待ち受ける者は
MAME phase.
Hello, and welcome to another MAME stream. Now, this is a follow-up to the previous stream I did, which was about games that zoomed. That stream went on for a whole 5 hours. We played a lot of games, and still, at the end of that, I looked at the list of remaining games and thought, there are many, many games with zooming effects that I haven't covered. So I thought, why not do a follow-up stream? Which is what you're going to get today. I've come up with a list of games I think I did want to show that I didn't get to show last time, and added to that, so I don't know how many we're going to cover. Probably not the whole list once more, but I think we'll cover some noteworthy ones that we missed last time. So let's just have a quick look at who's in the chat. It seems to be quite quiet. We've got Aussie Guy, the provider of many facts, so welcome Aussie Guy. And we've got Pika Seb, who was just having a little conversation with about MAME in general. So welcome Pika Seb. I hope you're doing well. And Mr. Fun Guy, another one of our regulars. So welcome to you. So that is the 3 people who have said hello in the chat so far. If you drop by in a bit, feel free to say hello. If you're in the chat right now and haven't said hello, this is a friendly chat. Everybody, likes to have a little chat away about the arcade games, share facts, and just discuss what they think of the game. So don't be afraid to post if you're just lurking. But anyway, starting with today, we're going to be looking at Art of Fighting. Which came up in conversation a few times last time, but we didn't get to play. So I'm now going to switch to the other view, which is this view. I'm going to turn the sound of the game back on a little bit. So there we go. Got some game sound, and I put my headphones on so I can hear the sound. And Mr. Fun Guy says this is the first fighting game with super moves. That's not the reason I'm playing it though, because I think it might also be the first fighting game with a zoom effect. Although I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It's the one that comes to mind because it's got a game design that sort of predates, you know, your Street Fighter 2s, because it's only got the 2 characters to pick from. And that makes it quite an early fighting game, really. And I can't think of many others that do the zoom effect that you can see there this early on. This game also has the most aggressive AI. I think Art of Fighting 2 might challenge it, Mr. Fun Guy. And hey, Ami Arcade, welcome. Hopefully it won't. My internet's been a bit slow today, but it seemed YouTube's saying I've got an excellent connection, so I think we're okay. Maybe they added aggressive AI to make up for the super moves. That was a new thing. But you can see this zooms in out a lot. It's a very impressive showcase of the Neo Geo hardware, really. And that's one of the things SNK wanted to highlight, is all the zoom effects it can do. And I think this was a good choice of game, really. Obviously, fighting games were what ended up being huge on the Neo Geo. And while this only has the 2 playable characters, it's got very satisfying moves, and these huge sprites it has just look great. And then when they zoom, you know, you move away, it zooms out. They still look good. I've always enjoyed this. Never been good at it, but I've always enjoyed it. So I don't like Art of Fighting 2 at all. I find that one is far too difficult. I struggle to even win one fight in it. But this one, once I remember how to play it, yeah. It's got your, you know, it does have your fireball attacks. It does have your flying kick attacks. There was always a rumour about there being nudity in one version of this game, but I think it was only ever that, a rumour. I don't think that version actually exists. It's definitely not in this version. But, oh dear, I've lost the first round. And, so yeah. Computers do need upgrading eventually, Hammy. It's one of those things. You have no ability. This is true, I have no ability. We'll try again. So yeah, you just get to choose one of the 2 characters. I think if you're playing against another player, you can pick from the whole selection, but against computer, it's a story game rather than, you know, your traditional pick anybody. Although, I mean, a lot of other fighters are story based. It's just every character has a story. Where I guess in this case they just want it to be the story of these 2 characters. I don't know the moveset, unfortunately. You remember the PC port being an impressive port? I've never played the PC port. Was that a DOS one or a Windows one? Oh, PC Engine port, sorry. Yes, in fact, the PC Engine port we will be looking at in a bit. Sorry, I was trying to read and talk at the same time. But yeah, PC Engine. We will be looking at that port because it's... Robert is a member of the Ministry of Sea Walks Revertebrae. Yes, aka Hap. So welcome Hap / Revertebrae. Yes. This is a very silly hoppy walk, isn't it? Did he keep this walk in the sequels? I don't remember. Todo or 2D is the game I'm fighting. I think it's probably Todo, not 2D, because I don't think he wants to be on the list. Although he wants to put me on the list of people he's defeated. And he succeeds. So, no smoking, I'm assuming that sign says. No, no smiling, that'd be silly. Yeah, no smoking. I mean, it is a wooden structure, quite silly. I don't know any of his moves. Let's taunt. Not the best of you. Yes, the other thing is, I think let's get the pace of the zooming right. We played Battle Monsters, the previous stream, and that was zooming in and out and readjusting the camera so much it was very hard to actually follow the action and focus on anything. Whereas, you know, considering this is one of the, or maybe the first game to do this effect on a fighting game, it's done really, really well. go to map. We go to Max Bar. Again, another. Well, that's Jack at Max Bar, another very big character. And the backgrounds are all well drawn and chunky too. I mean, there's nothing small about anything here. You look at the detail there. You've got big characters in the background, big signs. The signs are animated. It might only have 2 characters, but I think this gives you a proper arcade experience at the time. We will lose though. It's also well animated considering the size of the sprites. You know that this wasn't one of the super high capacity later Neo Geo games. And I'm guessing this helped to establish, you know, SNK in the genre. There's an X68K version developed but went unreleased. The guy. I think the X68K might have struggled with this. I know people talk about the X60K having the arcade perfect port. The 68K wasn't really a powerhouse for huge sprites and zooming effects. I think it would have had to be a severely cut down port to go on the X68K. I don't think it would have turned out as bad as Top Speed that we looked at last week, but I think it might have been noticeably cut back. But unless it shows up, we'll never know, and I think the chance of a random X68K game showing up is fairly low. Non-release one. Yes, the sound effects as well on this, they just work. Everything feels impactful. It's you know, it feels like a proper fight where, well, I guess real fights aren't quite so loud, but it does feel like they are beating the life out of each other. The super moves do take a little while to pull off. I guess that is, it's not quite refined yet. It's not quite as easy to pull off as in Street Fighter 2. There we go. You have to get the timing exactly right. So, I don't know. Maybe this isn't everybody's favourite Neo Geo game because obviously Fighters advanced a lot after this. But I think it's an important one, especially if we're looking at games that zoom. And we've seen so many other fighting games after this with this zoom effect, and I'm sure we'll see some more in the stream today. Last time I was talking about how Capcom's first fighting game with zooming effects on arcade hardware was when they got to CPS3, which was Warzard Red Earth, and that was many years later. So, hey Elcore 2B, welcome. Is the Neo Geo core complete? I think there might be some slight timing issues still, some like raster effects off by a line or so. But it's mostly there. I mean, that's talking of raster effects. That's a nice raster effect on the title screen there, used to zoom the logo. I mean, that's not Neo Geo sprite zoom. That is changing the sprite positions every line to do that effect on the title screen. The X60K doesn't have a 320 resolution. I've never actually noticed that NB1. That surprises me. I thought it was flexible enough to have all sorts of resolutions. Nosy Guy says that Full Throttle's top hardware. Since that was brought up, Boogie Challenge hardware is the grandfather of Taito Z. Yeah, I can kind of see that because it does have that racing game. Anyway, what about Shock Troopers or Blazing Star? Do they use zoom much? I think the Shock Troopers sometimes drops enemies in, doesn't it? 256 or 512 or 384. Yeah, that's a bit odd. No 320 mode then. Anyway, welcome Adam, welcome NB1, welcome Carlo too. So good to see you all. Hope you're doing well, and welcome Tilanus. Good time zones. Well, I hope I'm not keeping anybody up like into silly hours of the day or anything like that. But whatever time of day it is, you are welcome, and I hope you are having a good time if it's eating your breakfast or failing to sleep. Anyway, that was Art of Fighting on the arcade Neo Geo hardware, and it was mentioned in the chat, and we should look at it because that got a port to the PC Engine, and it is a very interesting port. I'm not going to be doing any work soon on a Hyper 64. I'm kind of waiting for somebody to finish off the sound or something like that. Anyway. What's going on here? Is this not happy with something? What does this not like? Okay. Art of Fighting on the PC Engine. May use spoil? Spoil what? Yeah, it should have been set to the arcade card. I don't know why it didn't want to load. So the PC Engine doesn't have zooming, so you might ask why I put it on the stream. But it kind of manages to fake it in this game in a really interesting way. You can spoil the zoom effect if you want. Yes. So, I don't know if the garbage line at the bottom is correct, just ignore it. But so, yeah, you know, the characters are close, they're quite big, they're not Neo Geo big size, and then you see they go apart and it zooms. And that is actually really impressive. You play like the Mega Drive port, it doesn't do that. Play this port, it does. And it's a resolution switch, as MD1 says. It switches between 3 different resolutions depending on how far apart the characters are, which is, I mean, it looks a bit rough, but you know they've tried to put the zoom effect on a PC engine, and that is actually really impressive. Yeah, Samurai Showdown also uses a lot of zooms on Neo Geo. I mean, a lot of the Neo Geo games do, because I think they really wanted to show it off. But yeah, this is, say, the hardware doesn't zoom, it changes resolution to give the impression that it's zooming, which is a really quite fancy way of doing it. Yeah, it's a bit jarring, but compared to not having the zoom effect at all, you know, it's impressive that they tried and they wanted to pull it off. Is it just me, or does this version make the special moves a little bit easier too? Yeah, the PC Engine is an amazing little machine. People did so much with it. You know, it might not have the capabilities of video capabilities of a Mega Drive or SNES, but a lot of the games managed to look better, a lot of them run better. It's probably one of my favourites of that generation. And this is a CD arcade card game, so this arcade card I think adds a lot of extra RAM. Is it like 2 meg or something like that to the PC Engine, and all sorts of other stuff. So, you know, it's extended hardware, but it's extended well, and the load times aren't terrible. I mean, it's not like a Neo Geo CD where the load times are abysmal because it's got to load so much data. But yeah, it's cut down versus the arcade, but you know what? It's a very, very good representation. It's just as colourful. The sound's a bit weaker, but Aussie guy is mentioning Taito B system with Rambo 3. Rambo 3 is on the list. Camel tries more rotation than zooming, but still very impressive. But, yes. So you can already tell the PC Engine port is a lot easier than the arcade too, because, you know, I'm winning matches and rounds and not getting beaten up. The only thing, yeah, the sound is pretty weak compared to the arcade. The arcade had really chunky sound, whereas this is like it doesn't quite sound the same. If you wanted to play Art of Fighting at home, I think this is probably the best of the ports. At least it captures most of the arcade game visually. You have a quarter on the Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 has no zooming, so we won't be looking at Street Fighter 2 today, Zaluth. But you may look at it in a future stream if I do another fighting game stream. But this is about games with any kind of zooming effects this stream. Metal Black does have very trippy effects. It uses a lot of time up. I'm not sure it has much sprite zooming, but it just used a lot of time up effects. Good effect. Anyway, we're not going to play this for too long. We'll send Jack home. Or we'll try to. Apparently he has other ideas. So anyway. So we're not sending Jack home, we are dying. Anyway. There you go. That is the PC Engine porter. It goes by the Japanese name because I don't think it was released outside of Japan. So Ryu no Ken, or Ryuko no Ken even, So if you've overlooked it and didn't realise it had a PC Engine port because you weren't familiar with the Japanese name, there you go. And an impressive port it is too. While it's not real zooming, it's convincing. It's very convincing. So you don't like the way it zooms. You sort of get used to it, Picker. I've played games with hardware zooming that are even worse. Yeah, people are scanning chips and decapping and looking inside everything these days. It's quite impressive. Shall we go with? I know I've got super hang on in the background here, but let's stick with fake zooming for now and have a look at its little brother. Let's have a look at Hang On Junior, which is a very interesting little game, really. Now, this runs on System E, which is a Master System-based board with doubled-up VDPs. So the Master System VDP doesn't do zooming. It has to be pre-drawn sprites. However, you know, like I said in the description, as long as the games have a convincing zoom effect with enough sprites to look good, I'm willing to consider them, and I think this does. In fact, you know, the more I play Hang On Junior, the more I kind of enjoy it just as much as the full-scale Hang-On games. It's got its own little charm. The 8-bit music and the visuals, slightly smaller sprites, but just as good fun to play, really. Just as smooth. I guess that's just because, you know, Hang-On itself is a good game design. Famicom F1 Race has fake zooming. Yeah, there's a few on the Famicom. I've not really done much Famicom research for this stream. But yeah, in general, any platform without hardware zoom, which has a racing game with this perspective, is going to be doing some form of pre-calculated sprite scaling. And if it's done well, with enough frames, it can look good. I mean, it can look better than some games that have hardware sprite scaling where it's not done well at all. But, yeah, I mean, I wrote a System E driver a long time ago for MAME. It's kind of been rewritten a few times since by various people. And at the time I didn't really give this one that much attention. I thought, oh, it's just a put down version of Hang On. But in the years gone by since then, I've kind of learned to appreciate this one a bit more. You know, this System E, there's plenty of bikes on the road. It's not being hampered by the sprite limits, because I think, again, it's using the fact that it's got doubled up VDPs to get more bikes on the road than you might get in the Master System version, but at least without flicker. Pole position is, yeah, another good one. I don't think we looked at pole position last time. We did have a look at final lap last time. Unfortunately, Cow was not around to see it being played, but these early 8-bit racing games do have a lot of charm. I know they're often overlooked because the bigger brothers, the flashier games have more appeal. But oh dear, I'm already out of time. There you go. So I'm going to put it on easy. Oh, it is on easy. I'm not going to put it on easy. It is on easy. That makes that even more embarrassing. Hey, Bomber Matt, welcome, welcome. Pole position did open the doors to final lap. They are very similar in many senses, Aussie guy. You remember playing Hang On the Master System? Yeah, the Master System port of Hang On is a good one too. But even the SG-1000 port is visually cut down, but enjoyable. Sega did a good job of their ports of Hang On. I mean, I'd rather play this than Riding Hero on the Neo Geo. And that's meant to be, you know, your super flashy 16-bit powerhouse, or 24-bit they claim powerhouse hardware. But the game just doesn't hold up, whereas this is fun. Still fast. It's everything you want for Hang On. Doesn't have the turbo, because that's super Hang On, which we'll probably look at later, because I am teasing it on the picture. But if you want a Hang On experience, with lovely 8-bit music, then yeah, this is definitely one to have a play. I think music changes how a game feels quite often. One of the recent things that was dumped and added to MAME is a Legend of Cage set, or Legend of Carnage Taito set, with different audio hardware, and it sounds so different. Even though it's the same game on the same hardware otherwise, it kind of feels like you're playing a different port of the game. just because the music's different, just because the sound effects are different. I'm not going to look at that on this stream because it's not a game with zooming effects, but I may look at it on another stream just so you can hear the audio differences on that one. That's an odd one. I know it's been rumoured for many years, I think because the alternate soundtrack was available on an OST CD, but the actual board had never shown up, so it's nice that that is now added. There was a bit of sprite drop out there, but we can forgive it. You know, it is pushing this hardware quite hard, this one, because these weren't just lazy Master System ports. I mean, some of them were. I think Fantasy Zone 2 is, but I get the impression that this was probably rewritten for this hardware rather than being a straight port of a Master System game. It's significantly different and does make proper use of both VDPs. You had a Mac LC. Stole somebody's ability to play BBS with it. We like to pretend that Final Lap is a rip-off of Pole Position. You think there are internal fights at Namco and somebody stole the Pole Position idea and just ripped them off and made Final Lap. Do you think it was Cow? Do you think Cow in a former life was at Namco and did that? Cow probably doesn't want me to say that. Cow does really like Final Lap. Yeah, Neo Geo wasn't really designed for the sprite scalers of the racing kind, was it? It was. I mean, it had its sprite scaling, but doing a racing game, no. We played Outfoxies on the previous stream, Bomber Matt. It's actually one of the annoying ones where that's why the video can't be monetized, because the songs in that YouTube's unable to mute them and unable to mute just the audio. So the previous video is demonetized because I played Outfoxies. I gotta love it when that happens. Anyway. Yar's Revenge, is that a game with zooming? I played Yar's Revenge. It doesn't come to mind as a game with zooming, but maybe it is. Right. Let's go with a game where I added zooming support a few years ago. This is Penguin Brothers, a Subsino game, developed by ex-Taito employees. I believe we've worked out a previous stream, or at least designed by them, but published by Subsino on Seta type hardware, with some fancy zooming effects. So this is Seta. But before every level starts, let's go to a different world. You get this zoom effect, which is really quite fancy. But this is a personal favourite, because you can throw your bombs on there and just throw them around and play it better than that. So, you know, it's a bomb flipping, clear the screen of enemies game. Set it Lima hardware goodness. And it will do more zooming at the end of the levels, which we'll see shortly when I take the key to the door. So there we go. And now it zooms in and pulls the sprites apart. And then it zooms in a little bit on the next level too. And you'll notice that it does a slightly wonky zoom. It's not the same zoom every time. It changes it up a little bit. Oop, we don't do that. Oh, or that. Let's do it the safe way. That's not. How to practice it. There we go. Take you out. Now the different power-ups give you different bomb types. There's a few that are only used in like one level or so. So they have different sort of blasts. So this is the one that blasts from the centre, which means you have to be careful when you do it. And oh yeah, you can run across ceilings and stuff like that, which is one of the things. And you can turn the enemies upside down. And it's just really cute. And they can flip them. And they can go along the ceilings too. But I'm just trying to show what the game does rather than play it well right now. There we go. No, come back, key. Yeah, obviously if you want more points you can kill the enemies after you get the key, but I'm not trying to play for points. Can the arcade game run on the Sega Astro City? Isn't Astro City just a type of cabinet? So yeah, there are lots of hidden bonuses in this game too. Running across the ceiling in a certain place can trigger them. I don't know where they are in this world, unfortunately. It's been a while since I discovered them. Look, you can flip upside down and drop a bomb while you're upside down. There is an annoying bug in this, which I've talked about before, where if you stand in a barrel, then you end up throwing bombs through platforms. Can I do it here? No, it didn't work there. I probably got the timing wrong, but it does require an exact sort of timing, and it glitches out the collision detection. But if you don't know about it, it's easy enough to ignore it. If you do know about it, yeah, it gets annoying. It's the only real flaw in the game, unfortunately, that I am aware of. I should have seen that coming. There we go. So yeah, the zoom effects are used between levels on this, and they were missing in MAME for a long time, so I thought when I'm doing a stream about zooming, it makes sense to look at them. I mean, it's probably been about 5-6 years now since I implemented them, but still, I know some people don't update MAME all that often and may be unaware. This was released in the same year as the PS2. Quite possibly. I mean, would the PS2 have been able to do a good port of this, or are there too many graphics in it? I don't know. You think of the PS2, you know, as a super powerhouse compared to a 2D arcade board, but 2D arcade boards could still push quite a lot around without having to load. Should not forget that. Toss your bombs back. There we go. That wasn't clever. Oh, there you go, Stone. Good evening, Custado. Does Juno first zoom? I don't know if Juno first zooms or if it's pre-calculated. Same with Gyrus. There's a lot of really convincing pre-calculated games, I have to say. I mean, Raiden 2 was mentioned last week as one that might zoom, but that sprite hardware doesn't have any zooming at all. It is all pre-calculated, which, you know, I'm not against showing pre-calculated ones, as you can already see. But it's surprising how many you think would zoom, don't zoom, and how many you think aren't zooming, are zooming. Yeah, fake zoom sprites. Maybe we'll look at those towards the end. They're not on my initial list, but yeah, I just wanted to show off the zoom there because it's an impressive little use of zoom. Shall we quickly have a look at another game with zooming before levels? One of my favourites, but Battletoads Don Doko Don. This is look, there we go. Zooming rotate. Kind of similar, isn't it? This is very popular in Japan. I never quite got it, but I've said that before. There we go. Zoom at the start of the level. Doesn't zoom everything. The thing with the setters hardware is it basically is a global zoom, whereas this is a tile map zoom. The sprites I don't think zoom on this hardware. They did a nice little zoom on the tile map there. Aussie guy did some digging on Illuma and Seta. Seta's founder, Jun Fujimoto, was former exec director of Illuma. Ah, and there's a Twitter link there with some information. I really should play the game. Odd music, this. This game has a bunch of secrets. Most title games have a bunch of secrets. I don't know the secrets. In fact, Penguin Brothers had a load of secrets that I didn't even show, but yes. This reminds me more of Fairyland Story, where you sort of crush the enemies. But, it feels unnatural not having a button to jump down the platforms for some reason, but then a lot of these games don't. I mean, Bubble Wobble doesn't. But it almost feels like you want to be able to press down there to jump down. But I think that's just one of those modern things that you get used to. Then when it's not in a game, you start to wonder where it is. But yeah, apart from that zooming at the start, it doesn't really make much use of zooming, which is makes it kind of strange that they put this zooming chip on the hardware just to do a few bits with it. Oh, yeah, and they can jump from below and get you, because of course they can. But I think that's the thing. Some games are quite subtle in how they use hardware, and other games use it all the time. This is a bit more subtle. The true ending is the secret. Much like Bubble Bobble, then. What is the secret? Is it another one where you have to have 2 players, or is it a different secret? Oh, we've got some rabbits. I may have to keep this in mind for an Easter stream then. I did not realise this had bunnies. Yeah, I can hammer them out there. The hammer can go through walls, which is obviously this is not the strategy playing this level. How does the hardware achieve rotation zoom? Lots of counters. Counters in hardware that increase and decrease at different rates as it scans in each direction. So, you know, for every X pixel it will increase by a different amount of Y, and for every Y pixel it will increase by a different amount of X, and that type of thing. But yes, I'm not playing it very well. But yeah, there's minimal zooming. I just wanted to show it because kind of Penguin Brothers did remind me of it. Even the font reminds me a bit for some reason. And we do know there is a connection between Taito and Penguin Brothers. My issue with this, I think, is your character is so slow. It makes it very difficult to get out the way of things when your character moves. Yeah. Zoom is, yeah, basically zooming, sprite scaling, yes. Oh dear. I'm sure if I practice this game I'd enjoy it more. Because a lot of people do like it. But yes, anything that scales can be considered sprite zooming, sprite scaling. Bit of rotation there. I mean, not scaling, but it did rotate the background there for the earthquake effect. And rotation and zooming do sort of go hand in hand. Rotation tends to be when it can increase Y counters depending on X positions, and zooming is just when it can, you know, increase the X and Y at different rates. This is fancy. Good music. Yeah, it's classic fighting music, isn't it? I'm assuming these are multi-hit ones that will keep, yeah. Oh, I'm really bad at it. When they're crushed, it reminds me of playing Hatris as well. They're like little hats. Not going to spawn in? I think so. Oh, I can just hit them. Can I? Maybe, possibly. I don't know. Probably don't want to. Yeah, I can just crush them. I thought I had to throw things at them. But no, you can just hit them. Just take a lot of hits. And then get you from below. Anyway, Doko Don. It uses a bit of zooming. Not a super amount of zooming, but enough to want to show it. Which version of this are we going to play? Let's play that version. Sports game. Sports game called Run and Gun, which is probably not what you'd expect a sports game to be called. Change Lanes, yes, Change Lanes is on my list app. I should be looking at. I know you made some improvements to that recently, didn't you? Yes, zoom zoom. If I do a part 3, it will be zoom zoom zoom. So, run and gun. Well, run and gun is now a genre of games like Metal Slug. Konami decided to call their basketball game Run and Gun. It's actually quite quiet, so I'll have to turn this one up a bit. So yes, Contra is a run and gun game. Run and Gun is a basketball game. But we'll have a quick look at it. Now there are 2-screen versions of this, and there are single-screen versions of this. We're obviously playing the single-screen version. There we go, a zoom effect already on the map. That's another place zooms are used quite often, isn't it? Maps. You also thought this was a run and gun. It is not. I mean, it's... I don't know. I don't like the title. And then they made a sequel and called that Run and Gun 2. They must have liked the title. Even knowing... Did people call games like Contra Run and Guns back in the day? Or is that a more recent thing anyway? Or are we saying Konami were bad for something that wasn't even a thing at the time? Yeah, 68,000 on this one. A very popular game back in the day, this one, from what I know. A lot of people asked about this before it was emulated. Had a sequel, as I said, which was a bit less popular. The sequel was one of those, I think, that tried to go for a more realistic looking visual and didn't really pull it off that well. But yes. I mean, maybe not known so much for their sports games, apart from, you know, Pro Evolution and things like that. But they had quite a few. We looked at versus Net Soccer last time. Come on. There we go. Not doing too well. Run and gun is a style of basketball play. So it's a proper term from the sport. It makes sense. It's just odd to see it because in gaming terms, it's something else entirely. But maybe gaming borrowed the term from basketball then in the first place. I don't know. Oh, look, we've got a replay. What was the first game with replays? I don't think it was this one. It's no NBA Jam. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very different to NBA Jam. It's a different perspective. It's not trying to be NBA Jam. Unlike, say, AP Suits, which really is more like NBA Jam. My 3-pointers are not going anywhere. So let's just try and get nice and close. That's not close enough. Come on. I think I might have lost now. Oh. Does that put me in the lead? With a very, very late basket. It has. Strange perspective. I mean, it's the same type of perspective that games like Versus Net Soccer and Grand Striker use. Food Fight had replays. That would be an early one. KBX Game Master. I think that's just an inherent problem with high score stuff. It's basically just a hack in the first place. So if games change their memory when you press the reset button, then the high score is going to pick that up. So I don't think it's anything that can be fixed. It's one of the reasons high scores were taken out of MAME in the first place, is because you can't really make them work reliably. And people kept complaining that they were causing bugs. So we took them out, and then we decided to put them back in. But there were always going to be issues like that, just because of, you know, the way it's messing around with the games. It's just monitoring memory, and if it thinks memory's got a new score in it, then yeah. I mean, you could do a far more complex system where it was hooking into the game code, but then you'd probably have about 10 high score scripts instead of hundreds. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll play a bit more of this. I think if I'm not in the lead when the time runs out, it makes me continue. No good indeed. If anybody's got any problems with volume on any games, do let me know, because this to me is very quiet now, so I've had to turn it up in the streaming software. But it's still very quiet to me. It's just one of those things with arcade games. The volumes tend to be all over the place. Some let you turn on from service modes like the F3 games. I don't know if this one does. Still losing quite badly. Volume's okay, good. Just got to make sure I remember to turn it down for the next game. Whoa, I don't think that's going to go in from there. Got some quite nice ball physics in this, and the blocking seems quite effective. You can in stealing. Some basketball games you just don't really feel like you have a chance. It's just one end to the other end. But this one, yeah, you seem to have to put some effective blocks in, as long as you've got the players where they need to be. It's the SNES zoom. It's I mean, Mode 7's all hardware stuff, isn't it? I don't know about anything else on SNES, but I think the actual sprites are probably faked. Still lose at the end of the second quarter, which probably means it's going to ask me to continue. Yeah, I will not be continuing. So let's turn the volume down now before I forget. Yeah, that's Run and Gun, a basketball game from Konami with lots and lots of zooming, and quite a popular one. And I thought, yeah, I'd better cover that one because it was one of the first ones I put on my list, and then one I didn't get around to playing. Turtles needs a decent stereo sound. I mean, I don't think Turtles ever had stereo sound in the arcade, did it? Yeah, we looked at Checkered Flag last week, Vertebrae. And yes, that's one of the things with the links. It does have a lot of games with good zooming because it's a line-based blitter where they can do that rather than sprites. So, right, let me just... Yeah, let's go with... what was it called? What was it called? Change Lanes. So this is the one Hap has done some improvements to. So gear shift forward and reverse, left, right, and that's it. I'm assuming there's some sort of other input. Maybe. I mean, there is the actual Slam Dunk licensed game, isn't there? Super Slams. Is that Slam Dunk? I think that is. So, change lanes. Yes, this does have a fair bit of zooming. And some crashing. Some quite amateurish looking sprites, but it's an odd one because the sprites do sound kind of look a bit Microsoft Painty at times. But rest assured, this is an original Taito game. I think Hat changed this so the top speed was higher. It is a hard game. Buck Rogers is one we looked at last time too. But this one, yeah, it's called Change Lanes, and a lot of the game is moving between lanes and going on the water. It's a bit Spy Hunter in that sense, but now on the water. But yes, it's a very fast game. You crash into all sorts, but there's also lots of zooming, as you can see. Also a bit like Action Force. That's got lots of changing between different water and air and parts of the map. The Arcade Action Force and the Master System Action Force are very different games. I don't want to go this fast. I want to go less fast. Spy Hunter meets Minecraft. I'm not sure about Minecraft Custado, but it is quite blocky though, yes. I suppose it is. Minecraft's more cubes. There are no cubes here. You only had 1.1 miles to go. Dear. Drive to Brown Lanes. I was in Brown Lanes. Yes. So you have to toggle the gear to enter your name. Right, so dip switch, yeah, steering. You can turn the collisions off for some reason. This almost feels like a development game because look at the number of options you've got in here. You've got, you can turn the collisions off. You can change the length of the names and all these sort of features that you're kind of expecting an in-development build rather than a release build. But I guess this is what they released. Hey, Nessie Map. Welcome, welcome. This is a Brawly game. No, this is a Taito game. We had a look at Art of Fighting at the start, Master Ninja. The first game we looked at was Art of Fighting, and then we had a look at the PC Engine port. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of more like an evolution of something like Monaco GP, isn't it? Yeah, I think, I mean, it's... I don't know if there's a spinner option anywhere, because this is definitely using a joystick, because the inputs were left and right buttons. None of these... Oh, it controls steering wheel, there you go. So you can use a steering wheel with it, and now it's got... Yeah, now it's got... well, more buttons, but... I'm still playing on keyboard, so it's not going to make much difference, is it? Scaling is sick for a game released in '83. I think I prefer the turbo scaling, but turbo scaling is a bit wonky. I'll probably look at turbo next, actually. But early sprite scalers, yeah, they're kind of impressive when you consider when they were released. But then you consider that, you know, Space Harrier was, what, 2 years after this? Things moved quickly, not literally quickly. Yeah, now set it as steering wheel, I have better actual speed control too. So again, maybe the joystick option is more meant to be for debugging and not how it's shipped. I don't know. It definitely feels like it controls a lot better now set it to steering wheel. Even the acceleration. So there's another game like this with tons of like options and ways you can control it, and that is Data East Bandit, which I think is another prototype. And like some of the parts of the game, I think the bonus round you can't control if you've got it set to joystick, but then the actual analog controls don't seem to map correctly. So I think that one's still marked as not working in MAME, because getting the controls working, getting the game working as it should, feels very difficult. Like you've really got to know what the intended settings were and have everything mapped correctly. Let's get under the bridge. So, yeah, Bandit probably needs revisiting, because it looks like an interesting game, but it's not really playable at the moment. Yeah, it's a lot easier to control, because I feel like I've got speed control now. I mean, I'm not doing perfectly, but it's more playable. A lot more playable when you set it to steering wheel. Ice warning. Oh. And now it's not going to be playable. I'm on ice. I'm not on ice, that's good. The brown road is fast though. The brown road is very fast. No, come on. Get me through. There we go. Contra 3 on the SNES you're talking about, Carlo. Ice. Yeah, fun little game, this one. I mean, I'm sure Hap reverted they can say what they've improved in it, because I don't know for sure, but it does feel like it runs better now than it ever ran before. Drive into river. You can't drive into river there. It's telling you to drive into the river there. Software and hardware innovative technology developed changelings for Taito America. Originally pitched at Midway, but Midway turned it down. It's interesting. Did Midway maybe think it was too primitive looking? But I mean, Midway games aren't that fancy, and this is fast and impressive. I don't know why Midway would turn it down. Fuel is the fuel of time limit? I think so. Pirate Gamer Boy discovered changelings from being on Starcade a few times. I've never seen an episode of Starcade, I have to admit. But yeah, I will say then, if you're playing this, set it to steering wheel. It plays a lot better than settings being set to joystick. I don't know what the default is actually, but it was set to joystick on this, but that might because I streamed it before. Let me clear up this list a little bit. Ooh, okay. Where should we go now? Where should we go now? I did say we'd have a quick look at Turbo, didn't I? So let's do that. Let's go to 1981. 2 years before. Yeah, Metal Hawk doesn't work properly though. MB1. The battleship scene is. Well, I find it impossible to play because the rotation layer doesn't crop properly. So you get multiple battleships. You get invisible battleships where they should wrap around. The whole wrapping around and cropping on the rotation layer is completely broken. So with Turbo, what are my controls here? Gear shift is set to C. Okay, cool. So now, consider this was 2 years before Change Lanes. This is very impressive. I think joystick was meant for cocktails, possibly. You could get cocktail tables with steering wheels. It might just have been there in case the arcade steering wheel broke, or I don't know, for conversions. I've done a lot better at Turbo than this before. This is also impressive. It's got all these different effects. It's got your day, night, tunnel, ice as well. It doesn't have all the multiple lanes like Change Lanes, but I guess that's why Change Lanes is called Change Lanes, because it's got that. Yeah, look, ice. It's skidding around. And back to another tunnel. This is all about overtaking. This is like Monaco GP, but with a perspective. It's also very fast. Okay, beeping me. Just drop a few frames every now and again, but I guess it's pushing the hardware quite hard. 81. You quite like Monaco GP? Yeah, it'd be quite nice the day Monaco GP, the original, is actually emulated. You do notice with the analog scaling hardware in MAME, you do get the odd frame where the trees are super wonky. Oh, that's a big explosion. I think that's called you fail. Yeah, plenty of analog zooming here. I think you can change how the zooming works on this board slightly just by adjusting pots on the board, because it's that level of analog. So every turbo cabinet you encounter might look slightly different in the video output. Here it goes. Night time. Very weird colours. Horror. It is a slightly horror sound effects. Slightly horror visuals there too. Let's have another race. Let's put it in light gear to start with. But yeah, this is an all-time classic really. This holds up just as well as the day it was made. Oh, the horror story related to the production. Yeah, I think Aussie Guy was mentioning that before. It was quite a difficult one to get out the door. I thought you were talking about the colours and the squeaky sound effects, which do sound a bit horror movie-like. The turning effect is loud. I'll try not to turn too often then. Again, I think it's all analog sounds, so some of them are quite loud. Analog sounds, yeah, they could be. If you play any of the Netless games in MAME, some of the sound effects in them are intense. It's one of the reasons they're so nice. But look at this, you can tell the trees down there are lower down. They do so much with the hardware they've got here. Not doing as well this time. Good channel again. Oh. You like Super Monaco GP? Yeah, Super Monaco. We didn't look at Super Monaco GP last time either. Why is mouse not enabled by default? I guess so that MAME doesn't pick up unwanted mouse movements? I'm not sure. I mean, everybody has different preferences. Game over. Turbo is cool. It is, isn't it, P-Dub? Anyway. Hannah, I did say Turbo was the worst experience he had. Yeah, you did explain it before, Aussie guys. I mean, it turned out well, though. It turned out very, very well. So, I guess by the end of it, he must have been proud of the result and the fact that people still like it today. Shall we stick with early games? I think we shall. What's this one called? Don't remember what this is called. No, not that one. This one, Sky Raider, 1978 Atari. So this has, say, this odd zooming background. You were waiting for this one. Yeah, I mean, this is even earlier than Turbo. This is, you know, this is 70s. I mean, you can tell it's sort of a flat plane that's just been bent around for the most part, but it is still zooming. I would say it was zooming. It's, you know, it's distorting the shape of the graphics, which is essentially what zooming is. But yeah, I played High Voltage from Alpha last week, and that had a similar sort of perspective. Obviously, that was a later game. Getting those planes is tricky. But yeah, like many games of this period, it's a sort of timed experience. You know, get what you can in the time. So it's quite limited, but no, nice little technique I got. You know, I got I did 11,900 points. This is 78, yeah. This was before I was born. Got that one. Escape. Speed up and slow down. There you go. Nope, missed that one. Those planes are the hard ones to hit, but they're also worth 800 points, so if you do get them, they're pretty worth it. They're pretty worth it. Not that one. Also, though. No, not. It's not being my also at all. Which score was? I have beat my score, in fact. I have beat my score. I don't know. I couldn't remember what my old score was. Amazing effect for the time, yes. It is a black and white arcade game, pre-super scaler. Well, it's not entirely black and white, it's got grayscale. But yes. Yes. 19,700 was my score, and I did beat it. So, yes. How about Contra 3? Does Contra 3 zoom in obvious ways I'm going to get to, Carlo? Considering I'm probably going to be terrible at it, and also I don't know if it works. So yes, Sky Raider by Atari in '78, when Atari did cool things. Very cool things. The shooting game with horror is a comedy. You mean, what, like Carnival and things like that? So, what about a bit of Jackie Chan? We did look at Art of Fighting as a fighting game with zooming in it, and Jackie Chan is one too. Unfortunately, this does have a few emulation issues with the zooming, breaking up a bit, but okay, I'll consider it then, Carlo. You've got a lot to play, though. So this is the first of the Jackie Chan games. It got a sort of semi-sequel with extra characters and palette swap versions, but this is the first release. You see, it zooms in and zooms out. The zoom seems to be holding holding together a bit better than I remember, but at the same time you can see the life bars up there. There's a gap in the side of them. That's because the zoom is off by 1 pixel at that point. This is your game, is it, Carlo? Unfortunately, these well, we call them Supernova sprites, but as I said last time, I think they were first used on this game rather than Supernova. Yeah, there's some precision issues, which is a shame. Because you can see it in this, you can see it in, I think, Gauss Panic 4 is quite bad for them. It'd be nice to have it fixed, but I don't know. A lot of the time, if you want to implement the zoom properly, it requires proper studying of the hardware. You know, seeing how everything looks at every different zoom level. I wonder if the actors are either proud or embarrassed. I mean, I don't think they have any reason to be embarrassed, to be honest. I mean, these digitized fighters were popular at the time. A lot of people like the games. You know, even Tattoo Assassins is actually not a bad game. I don't think anybody should be embarrassed. Survival Arts, on the other hand, I should probably be more embarrassed about my inability to play it. How many controls are there? Oh, I've got a finish move that I wasn't paying attention to. So there are 4 buttons. There we go. Let's try again. Pit Fighter is your turn. We played Pit Fighter last time, Peter. Pick a different character. Thorsten versus Mysterious Lion. I don't know any moves, as you would say. I'm still fine. Just give me a chance. But yeah, the sort of sequel of this is really weird because the palette swaps almost look like palettes are broken, but that's just how they are. It's a very unusual way of doing palette swaps. 268Ks, yeah, it's a pretty powerful piece of hardware, this. think it's got doubled up sprite chips as well, because they're using the zooming sprite chips for not only the sprites, but also the backgrounds. So, you know, it may be one of Kaneko's most expensive pieces of hardware. I think Gauss Panic 3 is also up there, because that's got loads of frame buffers and hourly decompression chips. I'm going to do a finisher. I'm just going to throw me. As you can see, I'm not very good at this one. I've not played it in a long time, and I don't know any moves. But we can see a selection of different characters. Unfortunately, there aren't that many characters. So. Oh dear. Give me a chance. Hello. Oh, there's a move. Didn't manage to do anything with it. Got you. Didn't get you. This is aggressive AI. The Street Fighter movie game is bad. Yes, it is. I don't think that has zooming though, does it? And I'd still like to get the Jackie Chan Dance Mat game on Zavix, Super Zavix hardware up and running, but those later ones have some kind of extra extended memory banking or something that I can't work out. The Super Zavix hardware itself just extends the original Zavix hardware in weird ways. So unfortunately, Jackie Chan Dance Mat is not going to work yet. It's basically just Pop Era, but with a dance mat and Jackie Chan stuff. All the characters are actually Jackie Chan in disguise. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if it's true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. This character's a bit better. Well, I said that too early. Oh, come on. Give me a chance. Not like that. Not like that. Oh well. Oh, there's a bit of zooming. I zoomed in and cracked the camera. There you go. I think this is actually a pretty good game. I can't judge it on, you know, balance of the fighting, but in terms of the presentation, the style, the whole attitude it's got, you know, it's sort of perfect Jackie Chan material, isn't it? There is an updated version. Shall we have a quick look at the updated version? All your facts may not be facts, Fasado. Zooming there again. So more zooming. You know, lots of zooming in this one. So yeah, let's just quickly look at the sequel then. It's on the same hardware, but it really is a sequel. It's like, you know, Street Fighter 2 had Championship Edition, and this had this one, which is Jackie Chan in Fists of Fire. A lot of shared resources, but some new mechanics too. Again, it's showing off lots of zooming. But this is what I mean by the colours on this one, though. They look really kind of ugly because they just do an odd colour. So there you can see the zooming precision is completely wrong on the logo that they're scrolling by. But yes, this is Jackie Chan in Fists of Fire. But you see, odd colour swapped characters. I mean, we can play as them, they just look odd. Jackie Chan. Yeah, this uses zoom in different ways too. Like when I punched the guy there, he zoomed down. So it's actually a very different game to play. Boom, and I'm dead. You've been playing the Quake 2 remaster, P-Dub. I have pre-ordered the physical of that on the Switch. I don't know if I enjoy it though, because you know, my main positive memories of Quake 2 were playing things like, you know, the community maps, all the Renegade maps and things like that, and Action Quake 2 and Chaos Quake. But, you know, I figure I'll have a look at it. And Eraser bots as well. I don't know if the remaster's got any kind of bots in it, but I never really wanted to play single-player Quake 2. But we'll see. We'll see. Oh yes, take that. You're breaking your Wii U. Why are you breaking your Wii U? You mean jailbreaking? Not breaking, not like throwing it off a building. Well, I have pre-ordered it, so I'll be giving it a shot. And just, I don't know. It seems like it might lack many of my favourite things about Quake 2 in the first place, but I'll give it a shot. I mean, I'd like to see what they've done with these games. No, I lost again. Oh well. Big fiery explosion. Yeah, this game is just over the top and ridiculous. More zooming on the continue screen. No, it fits the theme of games that zoom. Yeah, that was the only thing with Doom Eternal, Mr. Fun Guy, requiring an account. And the Quake 1 remaster, it just gets in the way. Yeah, Kaneko had some pretty good hardware. This hardware is Supernova hardware. Even some of the other 16-bit hardware. I mean, the older stuff is quite traditional, but they made good use of it. So Kaneko were one of the good developers. One of the good developers from back in the day. Anyway, that was Jackie Chan. Right, we should probably get Super Hang-On done, shouldn't we? Supercharger is on V, is it? Okay. So Super Hang-On, this is the game that you can see in the preview pictures. I think everybody knows Super Hang-On. It's like Hang-On, but with a turbo feature. Once you get to your top speed, it flashes, and you can go much faster. So it's a bit like what they did between Afterburner and Afterburner 2. They just made it a lot faster. Although they did also make it, redo the whole game in graphics here, whereas Afterburner 2 was just basically Afterburner with different features. Now, again, not ideal to play this on keyboard, but for the purpose of the streams, that's what I'm doing. I used to be pretty good even on keyboard, but you've beaten this game on keyboard. Yeah, it is beatable on keyboard. If you play the limited edition one, which is intentionally easier with a different type of cabinet, that one is very easy to beat on keyboard. Or if you set the difficulty to easy in general, I've not got very far this time though. But, I've been playing quite badly. Don't know what this set. This might already be set to. Yeah, no, let's put it on easy. So put it on easy and then go to the junior course because a different song. But no, I grew up playing this on home systems. I had this on my Amstrad CPC and on the Mega Drive for a while as well. The CPC version is a bit slow, but it's still an enjoyable game. Mega Drive version is half the frame rate, which is a shame, but it's got some extra gameplay options. I think it's got like a upgraded query system type thing to give it a bit more depth than the arcade, so that's a worthwhile port, even if the arcade is technically superior. Those were cows on those signs, weren't they? Oh, looking at the chat. Outrun is a classic, yes. You only had to look at Terra Outrun last time. When you get up to maximum speed in this, it's quite the thrill, though. Yeah. Then we crash. The X68 version is now. Yeah, we played that on a previous stream, P-Dub. Not the previous Zoom stream, but when I was looking at racing games, we played quite a lot of X68K racing games. We played like, I think it's Overdrive, this, obviously Full Throttle isn't quite bad, Chase HQ, and some of the lesser known ones as well. Can't remember what they're called right now. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's a traditional Z book on it from memory. MB1. Hey Rob, welcome. Yes, you've caught us an hour and 20 minutes in rather than like 5 hours in this time, Bob. So welcome. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So let's just race with this course too. I'm not going to spend too long on this game because I think everybody knows it. You know, the different courses are longer, more difficult. It's one of those where it's worth checking out the different clones because they do have slight changes, different courses, things like limited edition hang-on. People bootlegging it on slightly different hardware. Yeah. Classic Sega game. I think the best of Sega's Fight games, to be honest. And they did other ones, like GP Rider and Racing Hero. They're okay, but they're not hang-on level. Wasn't like a hang-on a sequel on the Saturn, something like that. It was kind of bad. Not got that in my list. You're hoping Super Hang-On and Galactic Hot Red shows up. I think the closest to racing games we've got on Galaxian hardware, what, like Street Driving? The conversion kit one? I didn't get very far on that course. Yeah, Super Hang-On for regular Hang-On hardware released only in Japan. You are right, how's it going? Gala not have MCUs. There's maths chips to do quick multiplication and division on them. I don't think there's much in the way of MCUs apart from protection on some games, but Space Harrier uses an MCU. I don't think Super Hang-On does. And hey, Joe J. Menace, welcome. You've been following MAME since 2000. That's most of MAME's life. I mean, the project only started in '97, so that is a good 23 years of a 26-year project. So thank you for that, Joe. Driving Force, yeah, was a racing game on Galaxian and Pac-Man hardware, and it's not amazingly good, is it, Aussie guy? It doesn't require a Bethesda account, at least on the Switch. That's good. That's good then. I'm a bit happier with my physical pre-order in that case because I don't like those requirements. Anyway, where shall we go next? Right. Let's just see. Okay. Let's go with one I don't think works properly. I think this is probably marked as unaimed protection. It's vertical. It's vertical. Change the view. This is Devastators from Konami. Now, what's the line between unemulated protection and not working? I don't know. Look, we've got some zooming already in the intro. But this does seem to have some gameplay impacting flaws. At least I think it does. Garuka in Japan. This is a cool type of stream. I did play Galaxy Force 2 last time, Cow. Also, welcome, Cow. We played the fiery level on Galaxy Force 2 incredibly badly. But you missed that one. You missed that one, didn't you? So, this one. If you fail to complete the mission, you will perish, apparently. You finish this game with fast forward, it drags endlessly. Is it one of those? But yeah, you run around, you shoot guys. It does seem a bit slow, doesn't it? Yes, it is a bit slow. But I'm pretty sure these are meant to be solid bunkers. Except you can walk straight through them. I think that is why the game is marked as unregulated protection, because you can walk straight through the sandbags. Which obviously doesn't seem quite right. Now, I don't have an original reference, but I think it's using the Konami, collision type chips, and the collision is probably just not working there. And to me, if this doesn't happen on real hardware, this is a game-breaking bug, and it should probably be marked as not working. But, I don't make these decisions. That's why you fast forward the game. Konami CPUs for 8-bit. Yeah, it's got zooming though, and it's maybe a game with zooming that not many people talk about, so I thought I'd give it a bit of coverage. We won't play it for very long because it's not very good. It's like a bad version of Commando with perspective and really dull levels. In fact, Konami Konami have this reputation of being one of the all-time great developers, but they've got their fair share of really, really bad games. You can have a look at another scale of the game you want. They did in a bit if you want. G.I. Joe, which is also quite broken in name since about 20 years ago. Because one of the hangar level doesn't work properly, as far as I know. The effect in it is broken. Because it used a very gross hack to work, and it's never restored. Rambo 3 from Taito, yes. We'll probably do that next, Aussie guy. Mission completed. And then we get the next level, which is more of the same. It's also a bit line of fire, this, but not as a gun shooter. But the same into the screen scrolling of endless waves of soldiers. Although line of fire, as janky as it is, at least has a bit more going on. This, to me, almost feels like a game you'd get on one of those plug-and-play systems. It's like, let's make an into-the-screen shooter. Oh, what do you need? Enemies running towards you. Okay, done. I don't know. Maybe there's more to this? But, it's no green beret or anything like that. And I guess it can't be, because you can't really have enemies from behind easily because you're so close to the bottom of the screen. So all you're really doing is just walking forward, shooting things, and presumably I meant to walk around the obstacles, but since, the emulation is apparently broken, it's always been broken, I can just walk through them. Has there been any progress on Checkered Flag? I briefly looked at Checkered Flag before one of the streams, and I noticed the shadows were still kind of ugly. Other than that, I don't really know. I don't know what is wrong with Checkered Flag. 360 has all the same issues. I mean, that doesn't really surprise me. A lot of people use MAME as a reference. I mean, it's just how it is. You look at a lot of those early ports to systems and they will have the same bugs or things that we didn't understand about the games at the time. I think the problem with the Konami hardware is, though, it's not seeing any fixes because all the progress on Konami systems is locked behind, this supposed Konami rewrite that nobody can even see the code for and has been in the works for 10 years. It's not great. So nobody else wants to touch them, nobody else is really fixing the bugs. And, yeah. Can you even blow these up if you shoot them? Not blow a plane up. Probably not. Yeah, Black Panther was developed by Corland, was it? Aussie guy, but yeah, that's a pretty bad game. So, you like this one, do you, Zooth? Yeah, everything Konami's going to use Konami video chips. I mean, I am not a big fan of this one. Maybe if it didn't have the bug. I'm assuming that's a bug because it seems really illogical, and there is an unregulated protection flag, and it is using collision type protection stuff. But I don't know. You know what this reminds me of? Danger Express. Except Danger Express had more to it. And Danger Express is bad. Big Run. Okay, yeah, let's do Big Run. Let's do Big Run. I'm terrible at Big Run. We will get nowhere, but let's do Big Run. X. Got a horn button. Okay. But yeah, of the Jalico racers, I think this is the one that is the most interesting. It's not Cisco Heat, which is a mess. It's not F1 Grand Prix Star, which is just F1. It's an interesting off-road dirt racer. It reminds me more of Hot Chase, the Konami game, for some reason. I think the handling feels a little bit Hot Chasey. Still got ridiculous corners. If you don't know a corner, we found a cow in the last stream too. We found a cow in the Lynx checkered flag game. Oh, you fell off the road. But the time limits on this are strict. It's one thing, if you crash, you're pretty much not going to get to the next stage, as you can see. Like when the Paris-Dakar rally really did start in Paris and ends in Dakar. That's another game we could play, Paris-Dakar on the Magnet system, but probably not. There's been a bunch of other Magnet system dumps recently, but I'm pretty sure they were all bad. Or at least I couldn't get them booting. Most of them wouldn't convert because there were errors on the disk images, and the ones that did convert didn't boot. Then one of them that did convert, which was Booby Kids, did run, but the end of the disk is completely corrupt, so if it loads anything after what it loaded initially, that will fail too. I don't know, somebody else needs to look at those and try and recover the data properly. Not me. I suspect a lot of those new discs will need redumping better equipment, or they might just be beyond help. The emulation of the magnet system might need improving. I really don't know. But it needs somebody who's more of an expert in data recovery than I am. And also understanding schematics and implementing the magnet system based on actual traces from the board, which is not a very me thing. See? Again, didn't make it to the goal. This is what happens every time I play this game. Regions Japanese. Let's put it in English. Put vulnerability on. Difficulty easy. I don't think it's any easier there. But yeah, it was the same when I played this on the real cabinet. I could not get anywhere in it. I do have a horn though, look. Got a dedicated horn button. If you ever wanted one of those. They're just floppy disks, but they're a custom format. Oh, I'm not going to hide it, that's not going to help. They run the disks at a lower speed to get more data on. They've got custom sector numbering. And yeah, they're a bit of a mess. And obviously they were just like any old cheap disk they'd be just using, so they're not good quality disks. They had too much data crammed on them, and they've probably been stored in very unsuitable hot environments in Spain for the best part of 30 years. So it's a miracle that any of them worked at all, really. But it's quite interesting because some of the dumps, like the Double Dragon port, was one of the discs, and one of those discs did convert clean. There were two discs of Double Dragon. One of them seemed to convert clean, but still didn't do anything, and the other one just looked like trash. But again, somebody else is going to have to look at those. I really, really can't. Time out retire. They just use whatever they had lying around. You like this game? I don't mind this game. I'm just terrible at it. So I think of all the Jalico racing games, at least, you know, the ones on this hardware, this is the one that I think is worthwhile. I'd like to see the Mega System 2 Jalico racing games work. You know, the one that's not dumped. Is it like Red Heat? That'd be nice to see dumped. And F1 Super Battle. But they've got some sort of maths DSP that will need emulating. Yeah, every time. It's like Cisco Heat. You have to take that corner far earlier than you think you would. All the corners. I like doing that. Probably not good for winning races, but. And then a car gets in my way, and I'm still not going to make it past the checkpoint. Oh look, I didn't do it again. I had to retire again. Did you get better to make the first checkpoint? Yeah, I'm not making the first checkpoint. I'm quitting the game now. I don't mind it, but I think the difficulty on that one is too steep for me. So same on the real cabinet. I mentioned Hot Chase because it reminded me of it. Come on. Now this is an odd one. There's a bomb in the car. It will explode soon. And time is running out. But the stream time is not running out. We're only 1 hour 40 minutes in. Can you put a bomb in my car? No, you can put a bomb in the park though. And then we can play DD. No, let's not play DD Crew. Yeah, this is. This game is a mess. Maybe this is why it reminds me of it. They're both very messy games. So is the screen my windscreen, even though I can see the car in front of me, or am I just a cameraman who's also being shot as well as the car? I don't know. How not to drive. The music's alright, yeah. Just everything else is... doesn't feel super responsive at any point. Is this Poundland Chase HQ? There's nothing to chase. If you want Poundland Chase HQ, we can put Roundup 5 on. Although I don't really want to put Roundup 5 on because the emulation's kind of bad. It's like speed, drive as fast as you can before the bomb explodes. But I think if you were to crash as much as you do in you know, the bomb should just explode anyway. This is not a very good bomb. Well, maybe it's a very good bomb if it's crash-proof, but I don't know. Yeah, the scaling on this is so rough. Considering this is the same hardware as WEC Le Mans. WEC Le Mans, which is a really good looking game. Then there's this, which is like, eh? It shows there is more to creating a good game than the hardware. I'm pretty sure I didn't even clear that train visually. And when the game slows down all the time, like it does, the controls stop responding properly. Yeah, it does feel like Jalico levels are bad. It really does. But it zooms. Yeah, it doesn't control well. It really doesn't. And once it slows down, which it does all the time, it's like you can't steer while it's slowing down. It's horrible. I mean, now look, I've got not super responsive steering, but I can steer. Then it slows down and I can't steer. And oh dear. Call and develop WC Le Mans. Who developed this? This can't have been developed by Corlan too. But then again, Corlan did develop Cyber Tank, so maybe Corlan just had some good teams and some bad teams. I think there's a bomb driving the car. It's everything just. It does feel Jalico level. You know, it's. You know, the zooming on the hard. I think the signs are telling you to stop playing the game. Danger, if you continue playing this game, it would lead to insanity and something like that. You should overclock the CPU. That might help. I've never played this on a real cabinet, no. I mean, I've seen real hardware footage and it didn't really look any better, but I've never played it. But the game design is just messy. I mean, everything all over the place without any rhyme or reason. It doesn't strike me as it should be running better. It strikes me as this is just a mess. I mean, why are the trains at every crossing that I get to? Is my timing so bad that I just happen to reach a crossing at the exact moment there's a train going by every time? No, I don't like this one. It zooms, but I don't like this one. I'm not going to play any more of that one. It's a bad game. I'm sorry if it's got any fans, but anyway, just cleaning up my list a little bit here. That's you're a fan of the game, are you? Only when you overclock the CPU, though. I hope. Cow, I hope. Using the analog stick makes it far more playable. I can imagine. I mean, some racing games are playable on keyboard, others aren't. But that one, no, not at all. So, Macross Plus. This one's super quiet, isn't it? I seem to remember. So, this is one of those games with some zooming. Well, obviously. Final Hot maybe the final time I play Hot Chase. So you've got a nice animated intro which doesn't really show off much zooming yet. There you go. A slight zoom on the title logo. Let's be yellow. Pretty good if you like bombs in the car. I'm not a big fan of bombs in the car, to say. I mean, it's a bit of an inconvenience. Except on GTA. Having bombs in the car on GTA is kind of fun. Except when you crash. It's less fun. But zooming out. Zoom in. Zoom into the ground. There you go. It's a bit like you with what good. What's the name? Queen Cobra 2 was doing. It zooms in and out in the background. Not that often, but enough to be there, enough to be noticeable. Let's get the special weapon out. Oh yeah, there's a lock on the mechanic. Use the lock on the mechanic. It goes, you know, you can play a bit like Day 4th, Day Strong. If you want to. This is like Thunderblade. Thunderblade's got that behind the camera part as well, though. This is more like lock on something. Not lock on a Day Force, but the lock on the camera. Jesus time. Sound effect is too loud in this one, is it? Okay. It's very difficult to judge because this is a super quiet game in my headphones. And the problem with MAME is you can turn the volume down 100%. You can't turn it up. So if a game is super quiet, all I can do is adjust the volume in the streaming software, which I don't hear in the end, so I can still only hear the game super quiet. MAME really needs a way to increase the volume from the default, not just decrease it. That would make live streaming so much more easy. Very easily. But yeah, you lock on the targets and don't die. There we go, it's taking off and we're getting the zoom effect. What regions was this? I don't know. I'm not sure it's region specific. There's no region warning. Can't remember if it has a language dip switch or not. We can check quickly. It does. So it's probably intended for Asian countries with English at least. But it's one of those, yeah, where things like these bosses do seem to have a bit too much health and it ruins the pacing. Pardon me? The game name that I can't pronounce is a bit more advanced than this, I think, Gao. There's lots of fancy stuff. Macross is a minefield when it comes to rights. Doesn't surprise me. Look, we've got fake 3D pillars. That is very Underblade. Yes, there you go. Doing 3D objects with stacked sprites like that. I would agree with that one. Yeah, there's not a super amount of zooming in this, but the hardware does do zooming, and it's not just zooming in the enemies falling down, like the way that we looked at in the Sangeki's Striker. No. I should also probably revisit the game that crashed me last time, even though that was a very subtle zoom effect. Continue once. But, yeah. I think the problem with this game is it ends up feeling a bit too generic. It's got some nice things. That's a really, really well worked arch. I don't know. To me, it never quite done enough to stand out. It's just the ideas borrowed from other games, kind of done better in the other games. But it just have a nice zoom. There we go. We zoomed out again. Doesn't have much to do with Macross. No. The problem with a lot of licensed games is they don't have that much to do with the source material. I mean, I am a big flying robot, so you know, that's pretty Macross. I think didn't quite grasp my collision box there, though. There are two other Macross arcade games, yes. My favourite is probably Macross 2 because it's got that interesting. Well, the levels are timed, aren't they? You have to destroy the enemy within the time limit. Big enemy, which is a bit of a different design, so it stands out. But the first Macross game and shooter is really good. I mean, there are later games too. There's a bunch of MAME ones. I think, unless I'm wrong, aren't there Macross games on MAME? Or am I thinking Gundam? I'm thinking Gundam. Actually, I'm probably thinking Gundam. Maybe there isn't a Macross game on MAME. But yeah, Macross Plus. 68020 based Macross shooter. Macross 2 game is better than Macross 2 anime. I've not watched the Macross 2 anime, so I don't know. Maybe there really are no other Macross games apart from the 2 on NMK hardware. Don't know. But yeah, that was a game with a bit of zooming. Corland. Now, this is a game Corland developed for a unique dual screen setup, which let's zoom it up a little bit. Oh, I'm in the way now. Warning, flashing. Let's put it like that. Okay, there we go. There's a bit of cyber tank. Now we're going to have to turn the volume down a bit here. So, cyber tank, two screen game, hence the split in the middle. Let me do a gapless. No, we can't do gapless because we've got the screen filters on, so it will never be quite gapless. So, cannon, handle, machine gun. Yeah, player 1 has a cannon, player 2 has a machine gun. It's quite confusing. I'm not sure. I can't remember how to play this one, to be honest. We're playing one player mode, which means auto targets things. Sound feels a bit off at the moment. The sound balance seems completely off. I don't remember the sound balance being off before. That might be a regression. But I don't know. Or maybe it's just got messed up settings in this build and main. But yeah, this was an interesting one to emulate. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure the very rough frame rate here is correct. And I think you really want 2 players, because when you've got 2 players, the second player is taking, you know, charge of the aiming, the shooting. They basically have a gun. Whereas in single player mode, it's auto aim. It was released in Japan by Taito, in North America by Rockstar for Coreland. For a long time, we were told it was a prototype, but it doesn't appear to be, because there were plenty of footage of boards around and cabinets. But yeah, I mean, I guess if this was developed by Coreland, you can kind of maybe see how Hot Face could have been, because it is messy in a similar way. But yeah, it's almost got that asymmetric 2-player... Well, it does have that asymmetric 2-player thing, a bit like Looking Wild and things like that, which... it's an interesting way to do an arcade game. Unfortunately, it's not a game I've ever felt there's much strategy to, but maybe that's just I'm bad at it. It just feels excessively difficult, but I think that is because it's meant for 2 players. When you play it with 1 player, you're relying on auto aim, so you can't aim. All you can really do is drive around and dodge stuff and hope the aim goes where you want it to go and shoots the thing you want it to shoot. And obviously, that's not always what it does. You know, one minute you think you're going to target a helicopter, instead you're targeting a bullet that you're also trying to dodge, and yeah, it's like playing with a second player who doesn't know what they're doing. Coreland was later renamed to Banpresto, and we did a Banpresto game in Macross Plus just a minute ago. Yeah, the frame rate's a bit dodgy, and I think it's correct. Unfortunately. It just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel like you can avoid things or shoot what you want to shoot. And that's always been my impression of this game, which is why it's never one I really go out my way to play. Don't know if the emulation is 100%, because there's not really much in the way of references for it. Battleground. Could I have avoided that? I don't know. But yeah, I don't think it's one of Coreland's best. I mean, if you consider they did things like Pengo, which is amazing, and WC Le Mans, which is a really good racer. I mean, everybody had bad games. A lot of Taito scalar games aren't that great. Things like N4s are kind of meh. Even Chase HQ2 SCI is not as good as the original. Super Chase was a mess. Grand Effects was a mess. Racing Beat was a mess. Operation Wolf 3 is a mess. That's not a racing game, it's still a scaling game. But Taito had a lot of bad games. And So maybe it's not surprising that other companies like Corlan still had bad games. Bandai bought Corlan Tech in February of 1989 and renamed them Banpresto in the process. That's what Aussie guy filling in the details of the name change there. Yeah, a lot. I mean, that was Costado saying that a lot of the Scalar games have perspective issues and things like corners. I mean, as much as I like TX1, the Tatsumi game, the cornering on that feels really weird. Not as weird as, say, Cisco Heat or Big Run and things like that, but still weird. Whereas, yeah, the Sega Yu Suzuki games and anything presumably using that type of engine feel a lot more natural. And also, I think Yu Suzuki games, I think, you know, you understood the importance of the frame rate, the responsiveness, and a lot of the games get that wrong, which is one of the problems here. It's like, this exists, but I'm getting no satisfaction from playing this. It's just a game, drive along, die, don't really feel I could have done anything to avoid dying. Again, maybe with a second player it's a lot better. There's a single player game. But you see, this is a two-player demo where they've got the actual crosshair shooting things. Makes sense. Cybertank was the last Corlan game under the Corlan name. Not the best last game to have your name on, unfortunately, but there you go. There you go. Where next then? Let's put the... Where next? Okay, let's go for something a bit different. We don't want the vertically. Battletoads. Electronic Arts. And developed by Rare, of course. No, not exactly swan song material. So, maybe not the first game that comes to mind when you say zooming.
Stomping time!
A bit loud. It does have zooming in it. This is also a bit of a coin launcher, unfortunately. There we go. Already a big zoom on the explosions. And zooming into the screen when you throw them against the screen. This feels very, very loud to me. I'm going to turn it down a bit more. But I think we all know the reputation Battletoads has as being a ridiculously unfair game. But it does have some nice zooming when you attack enemies, when you throw them. And even a bit of zooming on the arrow there, you see. You think this is a bad game, do you? See, I've heard quite a lot of people say they really like the arcade version of this and think it's actually the best Battletoads game, but I've heard other people say it's basically an unfinished game that's got half the content missing, so... I don't know, Rare's the only reason you care about Battletoad or Windman. I mean, fair enough. Rare's an interesting developer. Again, they're one of those with just as many games that are really misses as hits, but people remember the hits, and the hits were often very, very good games. You love the gore. It's very over the top, isn't it? I think that's the thing. Arcade games that are over the top, even if they're bad, can work to a degree. There we go. I do try to keep the streams family friendly. I think the previous one got flagged as not family friendly because of a certain Taito game I played with slightly odd imagery, which I think is just an automatic red flag game these days. And my other one got flagged for the music in Foxes. Because, yeah. That is the problem if you do a 5-hour stream, you're always risking there being one game that YouTube does not like. Yeah, I mean, this the story of Rare is like so many, isn't it? They just got brought up and then they really stopped doing what they were best at doing. Also, maybe just after a while the creativity runs out. You run out of fresh ideas at work. I don't know. You look at games like Snake, Rattle and Roll though, and they're fantastic. The enemy repetition here is already feeling a bit dull. I've seen the same enemy again and again and again and again. Basically the same background again and again and again and again. It's not doing much. There's some unused sounds of the toads swearing. I wonder if there's actually any way to enable that. Double tap joystick to run. I know. Hints in the background. But yeah. The zooming is subtle in places, but then obvious in others. Like the explosion effects is an obvious zoom. Into the camera is an obvious zoom, but it's not all the time. I think in terms of doing a beat 'em up where you've got zooming, this is kind of how it should be done, as opposed to say Sega's Arabian Fight, which we've not looked at yet, which just does it too much and looks bad. Aussie guy with some rare facts here. Rare facts about Rare. Formed in October the 29th, 1982 by the Stampers and John Lathbury after leaving Zilek and finishing Blueprint. Oh yeah, jumping into the camera there for another bit of zoom. Obviously this is meant to be a 3-player game and I don't have 2 imaginary friends to play with. Grotto entrance. I'm not sure there's as much zoom in this section because it's kind of flat. So we'll probably play this credit and then move on. Once the Stampers left, it ceased to be Rare. I wonder what happened to that handheld system that apparently we were going to get a dump of so that we could emulate, and I never saw a dump of. That was connected to Rare and the Stampers and stuff, wasn't it? They wanted it to be emulated and said, you know, it could be dumped, and then never saw a ROM dump of it, so would never emulate it. It's a Christmassy level, though. Christmassy music. Are there any net play versions of MAME? Not current ones, Mick Macarac. The cutting room floor has the toad swearing as it cow. I might have to shake that out myself. So, yes. One of the few EA arcade games with EA involvement, which is, yeah, a very odd thing to see on an arcade game, is Electronic Arts. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go from one game with an EA logo on to another. This is Rabbit. Extra rare stuff done the ukulele games. Yeah, it's a shame the first of those is expensive on physical, otherwise I probably would have bought it. So this is Rabbit, which is a fighting game that also came out on the Saturn, and is one of the few arcade games with an Electronic Arts copyright. Now the sound on this seems really grainy. I suspect the sound emulation might not be perfect. But it's a game that kind of reminds me a bit of the JoJo games. There was named Ashby Computer and Graphics at the time, 1982. And we also have Dingo in MAME, which is by Ashby, which is not a very good game. Yeah, I have a feeling the sound decoding on this isn't quite right, because it just sounds far too scratchy to me. But yeah, a lot of the characters have these characters above them like this, so that's what reminds me of JoJo. You know, the alternate forms. The emulation of this hardware is definitely not perfect. The problem is there's only like two games using this video chip. One of them is a Mahjong game, the other is this. And they both use the hardware in very different ways. Like the Mahjong doesn't seem to use the zooming at all, and requires you to basically ignore the zooming registers, which is illogical. But you can see, if I move away from the character, it does zoom just like the Artify and like. Yeah. I think it must be somewhat inspired by the JoJo games. It's probably one of those drives that needs revisiting and maybe improving, because I'm sure there's some easy improvements to be had on it, to be honest. It's an older one that I did, and yeah, I guess it's not perfect. It's not been touched in a long time. There goes my monetization. Oh dear. Oh dear. Shut up. This isn't that wrong. But yeah, I mean, I seem to recall this is one where it's a single zoom register that seems to apply to pretty much everything. A bit like the setter hardware, actually. I don't think there's a connection. But then it doesn't apply to the time up layer up there, the status bar. I don't remember. It's been a very, very long time since I looked at the driver. I also remember one of the Mahjong games that there's no title graphics, and I was told the ROMs are the same as the other game, but I don't know in that case where the title graphics are meant to come from, because it makes no sense. It's trying to draw empty tiles, but there's meant to be a logo there. So I don't know if I'm just being misinformed, or if it's got some way of drawing tiles from RAM, or... It was developed by Aeon for Electronics, yes. And it's a very strange thing in the arcades. Unfortunately, I do apologise for the sound quality. I didn't do it wrong. I didn't emulate the sound myself on this. I can't remember who did these days. But it wasn't one where I did the sound, so I really don't know. I doubt it's meant to sound this rough. The restaurant is called Shut Up. I mean, is that like a different version of the Karen's Diner we have over here? You think it was you that sound emulation? Yeah, it might not be perfect. Unless this is how it's meant to sound, but if it is, oh dear. You can see plenty of zooming going on in this one, which is why I picked it. But you know, it's quite an obscure one. Yeah, it is rather imperfect. Maybe it's just like byte swap or something like that. It sounds kind of like when you get samples that need byte swapping. I don't know. Or it's just like ADPCM being played back as PCM. Not entirely sure. Aeon also developed Flame Gunner. Ah yes, that's on PlayStation hardware, isn't it? Aussie guy. I lost. I'll probably lose this next round on purpose. It does sound like the Space Invaders all the time. which is very odd. I don't even know what the sound effect's meant to be. Yes, you do have different beasts by the look of it. So, is this 32-bit? I think it might be. Yeah, it's a 6820. But after that audio assault, I think we should look at something else. In fact, we should look at Time Bokan series Bokan to Ippatsu on the PlayStation. Let's just shoot 'em up. Now, this isn't in the software list. The Saturn version is in the software list, but the Saturn version has quite severe problems with the audio and audio repeating, so I thought we'd just have a look at the PlayStation version, which I assume is basically the same game. PlayStation also have a sequel, which I don't know if we get time to look at, and I seem to recall this is set to use the pad. Yeah, Time Bokan has a lot of good games. I know there's at least 3 on the PlayStation. There's 2 shooters and a kart racing style thing. Just skip over the FMVs. Just whether you just want to see the game. You can already see the zooming on the "please stand by" text. Maybe we should look at Samurai Showdown Game 2. Yeah, we've not looked at any of them yet. There you go. It's already zooming down. Also a bit of rotation, you see. Come on. Birds, they zoom down. Now there is momentum on the controls. It does feel more like a Euro shoot with the momentum on the main character, which would take a bit of getting used to. But you can see it's a PlayStation game, which makes heavy use of zooming. It does feel more at home on the Saturn, where, you know, the Saturn specialises in this kind of thing. Or maybe it's not Saturn, because it's repeating the sound. Oh. Okay, is it just repeating the sound because it's low health? Maybe the Saturn version does have proper sound then. But this repeating sound I thought was a sound bug, but I think it might just be the game. Well, on the Saturn, I couldn't seem to hear like many... Well, there seem to be sounds missing, so I thought the Saturn emulation was just bad, but maybe it's just the game. This is reminding me of the gun nail warning sound. Yeah, you can use the triggers. Yeah, it's a low health sound. It's very annoying. So yeah, maybe the Saturn version does work then, and I just got confused by the low health sound. That's possible. Although I don't remember hearing as many sounds when I pick things up and died. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. But I've never played this one before, I'll admit that. I've looked at it and seen it's got nice zooming. I've seen it in lots of videos of, you know, the PlayStation games and Saturn games. But I never tried playing it, so I don't have a strategy at all. You know, I can tell that I've got my shot. I've got a bomb there. Yeah, I've wasted that now. It did zoom, which, you know, shows what I'm trying to show on the stream. In fact, the pickup sounds are quiet anyway. It's odd audio design in this game. Am I meant to be shooting that thing? I don't know. Multiple dice. It's a shame this STV driver is also quite bad, because I would have liked to play the Cotton games, but the Cotton games at the moment in MAME run really, really badly. Like Cotton Boomerang, especially on the title screen, runs about 50% speed, which is not good. Level down? What Don't like power downs. Anime games are starting to get really good with PS1 Saturn era. Yeah, I think it was, because it was easier to represent the source material at that point. Whereas you had to make a lot of compromises on the 16-bit generations. Yeah, zooming things falling from the sky. Move out the way of them. But yeah, this is a good example of zooming, I think. Every second enemy is a bullet sponge. Yeah, maybe it's not the best design shooter. I mean, it does have like a bit of momentum. It does feel very Euro shooter, and that's usually used as a negative. But it's got style. Ooh. Oh, not this low health sound. I think it's just designed so you kill yourself off. That looks like Batman. Zooming up there. Or is it like Gun there, where if you've got the low health, you get more points? So you have to, if you want to speed run, not speed run, score run it, you have to play the entire game on low health. You think SNES has got the best 16-bit anime games for Wingman? Yeah, I didn't play much SNES growing up because I didn't have a SNES, so that's something I'm unaware of. But I guess the SNES does have the better colour palette than the Mega Drive, so is more suited to that thing, whereas the Mega Drive colour palette is a bit dull. I mean, obviously things like Sonic are quite bright, but otherwise it's limited compared to the SNES palette. So let's fight this dog thing for a bit. And probably when we have to continue, we will look at something else. I see explosion, but is it dead? It's still lurching forward. Oh, maybe it is dead. SNES was before your time. Yeah. Wasn't before my time, but I had Sega systems. Yeah, not dead yet, is it? I can't shoot anything. This is concerning. Quite wacky patterns here. Well, that's meant to be what I'm meant to be shooting right now, even. Make more of these. I like the way they're just climbing out of his mouth like it's a little spaceship. Like this. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Nintendo systems were not really a thing over. Even in the 64 era, Nintendo was like, eh. It took a long time for Nintendo to really be established. I'd say the Wii was maybe the GameCube, but the Wii is really the main time I remember Nintendo being a massive thing over here. Handheld-wise, yeah, I mean, DS was huge. Game Boy Advance was pretty huge. I think I died. Come on. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but this boss seems to be taking a very, very, very long time to kill. Now it's spinning around at me. Well, I did say once I had to continue, I would quit this one. Now, I could look at the sequel, but it seemed to be more of the same when I looked at it earlier. It's PS1 and Saturn kicked the N64's butt in Japan. Yes. N64 is not a well-liked system, really, these days, even. God, do you really want to Soukyugurentai that I can't pronounce color? I mean, I don't even know how well it emulated it is, but okay. I would have thought Guardian Force might be a better choice. Oh, let's try a different BIOS. Yeah, Soukyugurentai. Terra Driver. Or Terra Diver. Yeah, the PS1 didn't have an N64. Can we just call it Terra Diver? This is entirely fictional. Yeah. No silly titles here. I'm pretty sure the emulation of this one doesn't hold up throughout the entire game. Also, it seems quite loud again, so we'll turn it down a bit. The swordfish. Yeah, MAME's short name looks like it's a soggy yogurt or something. Sock yogurt, as Bob says. It is a Rising game, yes. The Rising game where they're doing lots of effects with the Saturn hardware. Still seems very loud. Terra Dive. I don't know. Maybe the Japanese title's better. We'll put in the coin. I also seem to remember a decision with an I. I remember this has got quite complex game systems as well, so I'm not going to be playing this in any way properly. Yes, okay. August the 12th. 2053. I'm assuming that's just going off the clock and adding a few years. So yeah, I don't know if those are meant to be complete shadow like this at the moment and then appear. Honestly, Saturn hardware is a nightmare. There's lots of things visually wrong with the emulation. And again, the game is a bit Ray Storm where you're locking onto targets and then launching missiles. But the day... I think I'll be dead and buried before MAME has good STV or Saturn emulation, to be honest. You're more familiar with Rising for their fighting games. You mean like Bloody Raw? I think they're mostly known as a shoot 'em up developer, and for things like the Golgo 13 games, I would have thought the fighting games were some of the lesser known material. But yes, I mean lots of Saturn zooming here. You know, things falling out the sky. And when you get to these bosses here, it ends up using the entire rotation layers for bosses and things like that. I'm not sure this is one of them, but some of the bigger bosses, are, you know, the screen-filling bosses are massive tire maps in this. But at least when I die, you get a big zooming explosion. You've got that attack too. It translates to Azur's Crimson Squad, which would have been a pretty decent title. Yeah, that would have been a better English title, yes. Costardo. Oh look, zoom on the ship. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these enemies aren't just meant to be black before they appear somehow. But or, you know, transparent black. That's an emulation you have a lot to answer for. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe they're like that so that, you know, they're not going to collide with you, but it seems off to me. Yeah, there's a lot of these games that seem to be influenced by Ray Force, and this is just another one of them. We looked at Macross Plus before. That had very strong Ray Force influences. Let me look at another one as well. I'm sure that wasn't even the first one that felt Ray Forcey. Now, personally, I think this would have been better as a proper vertical game. I find these vertically scrolling horizontal games to be a bit of an oddity. It's like, I mean, you could have vertical Saturn games. Rising usually did vertical games. I mean, even Brave Blade on PlayStation hardware is vertical. So I guess maybe this was developed with the Saturn in mind, more so than the arcade. But yeah, another big boss. I think this is one of the bosses that is actually just a tile map. So you can see it's rotating. I'm not very good at this. Just bomb things and destroy things. It zooms again. Yeah, pre-rendered graphics on a tile map. Not real 3D, obviously. Anyway, after this credit, we will move on. Oh, look, blending effects. It's not a stream about blending effects, but blending effects. Could potentially do a stream about blending effects, but and fake blending effects where they're not real blending effects, and how to approximate blending effects with shadow flickery sprites. But that will be a different stream. Oh well. Say when this credit was out, I wouldn't continue. Ghost Pilots is also terrible. Aussie guy, very boring game that one I find. But yeah, there's lots of them. I mean, Aero Fighters 2 and 3 on the Neo Geo are better examples of vertical scrolling horizontal shooters, and they hold up pretty well. To be fair, I just kind of wish they were proper vertical games. Is anybody working on Saturn STV? Not to my knowledge. That doesn't mean nobody is, but it's a kind of scary one, isn't it? Most people who work on it for a bit get very quickly burned out because there's so many different test cases and yeah. So many things can go wrong with a simple change. And it's badly in needs of optimization too. I mean, things that should run well just don't. Decathlete is really, really, really slow. Even Die Hard Arcade doesn't meet full speed anymore. Batman Forever goes really slow in places, otherwise I'd be using that as a zoom example too, because that does a lot of zooming. But yeah, it needs a lot of work, the SCV Saturn driver. Radiant Silvergun doesn't run very well at the moment as far as I know, so probably not, Carlo. Probably not. See, I could put the Korean version of X-Files on, which I think is censored, but I've not tested it enough to be sure. That lets you zoom in on your prizes. You know those prizes. Right, I'm just having a quick look at my list and cleaning up my list right now because I've done that. We should probably take that off the list. We've done that last stream. Why is that still on the list? Right, yeah, okay. Does this one work now? We tried to play Flower last time and it soft-locked on us. Let's try again. Now, as I pointed out last time, the zoom in this is really subtle. It's where the flowers appear at the top of the screen. That is a hardware zoom. I don't know why. It's really weird because the only game on this hardware is Flower. And you would have thought, you know, why have a piece of hardware with hardware zooming when all you're going to do with it is that? You could do this with pre-calculated sprites and nobody would know the difference. Unless there is something else on the hardware we're not aware of, or it's a, you know, the hardware is cloned from something. It just seems a bit excessive for just this game. Ooh, you got something other than speed up. Oh, I died. Not good. We played Night Striker Arcade last time. And we played some other Mega CD games. If you want ugly pixels, there's Jaguar XJ220 on the Sega CD, which somehow has really ugly graphics. I do at least want to try and get to the big flower on this, but actually a much trickier game than you'd think. There's a lot going on. Very busy. You're not even firing bullets, there's just so many enemies floating around at different trajectories. You have to be quite good at dodging. They're like bullets on their own. If you don't soft lock it this time, that will definitely be an improvement. I know Hap would make some changes, set the CPUs back to 4 MHz, which seemed to be the reason that they picked on one. The problem is, if you don't get anywhere, I think we just reset right back to the start in this. And I thought it was doing well then. Average traffic in Austin. This is Flower Bob, a game with flowers. But it does have hardware zooming, so it is. The edge of the screen gets me all the time. But it's actually giving me a game over message rather than just stop locking, so that's a start. Let's try again. This Flower and Fire Battle are graphic researchers' only arcade shooting game. Interesting, because Fire Battle is Taito-like hardware. I don't think there's any Taito hardware that this could be cloned. Can you go? Oh yes, laser. Speed. What am I laser at? Nice little comet. Now we get our flower. It's a sunflower. Apparently it always faces the sun, but I don't know where the sun is. Pew pew pew. Yes, good solid. I think we might need the laser to even damage it. I thought I was safe. The cutter seems to damage it too. I think the regular weapon does nothing. Oh well. Game over. But is that missile, not cutter? One more credit, and that's it. It's not soft locked again, so hopefully it is actually fixed now. Because it used to soft lock at least, you know, once every couple of plays before. a speed up, please. I can actually get. Go and read up there to the screen. Thank you. Later. Yeah. Flash Road was also developed by Graphic Research. It's... Flash Road is that odd bicycle game, isn't it? Need asteroids, thank you. Need some kind of power then. Not that one. The fuse are driving you mad, are they, Cal? Well, when I lose this, well, these next 2 lives, the fuse will be over because there will be no more flour. I think this must run at this clock speed because you can see the slowdowns now. I can't imagine this section being at all right at 3 megahertz. You can damage it with regular fire, it just takes a long time. Anyway, the flower is quite hard to kill. So we have not killed the flower, but the game has not crashed, which is good. Maybe the bad guy. I mean, you are killing flowers, but maybe they're actually weeds that look like flowers, even though they look like sunflowers, which are definitely not weeds. I don't know. But yes, that was also the sound hardware is similar to Nichibutsu's wiping / Rugrats, which is odd. Should we have a look at something quite ugly? The system doesn't work. No, it doesn't, because most of the games don't run. Look at that Zoom Sega logo. This hitbox is an oil tanker. Yes, in the distant galaxy, a horrible disaster occurred. Somebody made this game. Cyber Brawl. Behold the power of 32X. You can choose different arm types and different parts and customize your character. And it zooms. I think it's all software rendering. And then look at their arms zoom because when they're close to the camera, they're more pixelated. What a great effect! This game is slow. Oh look, it zoomed in. It just looks ugly. You really want this type of when you do this type of game. You really want the full resolution sprites, the ones that you use when you zoom in. You don't want pixelated fighter characters. It works in some genres. It works maybe with shooting wars if you want to give the impression. But in a fighting game, you absolutely don't want the full detailed characters to look like a pixelated mess. But then again, I mean, is there anything about this game that isn't a mess? It's not going to have sold any 32Xs. No, I would actually agree in this case. Survival Arts is a better game. Look at the entirely static backgrounds. Look at the minimal presentation on absolutely everything. This is 32-bit power for your Mega Drive. And look, it's zoomed in again. Now, yeah, the 32X driver is not working because a lot of the games, important games, don't work. But the piece of garbage. If you want to play, it appears to work fine. Look, I've lost some of my armour. But now I just look a bit silly. I can do leg sweep with a zoom on my leg. This looks like I've got some weird infection. I get some zooming. I mean, look, the Mega Drive couldn't do zooming. The Sega CD had a fake zoom, but look, the 32X can zoom without the Sega CD. Just really slowly. Basically, this software rendering on SHQs. And, oh dear. Jake has been beat. It's horrible, isn't it? It's a horrible looking game. But we've got another round to go. Not over yet. It's a useless move. Why does that move even exist? It's the problem. The 32X just had so much bad software. So much software that didn't live up to expectations. It's not surprising because it's bad hardware, but I mean, people have got good things out of it today, but that's not because the hardware is any good. That's just because people have worked out exactly how to push processors to their limits. It's the Western developed game. I don't know who developed it. Aussie guy might know who developed it. Oh look, zooming, and I'm dead. Couldn't they find a small size armor? I mean, you get to choose your armor. You know, it's one of the things. You choose your armor. You can choose your head armor, your body armor, and your leg armor. Okay. I think it wants to be time killers at the same time. Now we've got like Windows screensavers with game over written over the top of them. Anyway, Sega. No, it's a very unappealing game. Very unappealing game. So we won't play any more of it. How long? Oh, we're on 2 hours and 44 minutes. I think I'm going to try and keep this one to an actual 3-hour stream this time. So that means we've probably got time for maybe one more game or two more games. I think we're going to have to look at Arabian Fight. Still plenty we've not done, but I don't know if I'll do a part 3 at some point. Here is too much zooming in Arabian Fight. Thank you, P-Dub. Thank you. So, yeah, Sega really wanted to show off that their System 32 hardware could zoom, so you go backwards, come forward, it's very Pit Fighter. But everything is zooming, all the objects, all the barrels are zooming, the floor's got line scroll effects that make it look like it's zooming. And it's all a bit much. Okay, I know you're on a boat, but you genuinely start to feel seasick. And then the actual game itself is, well, the animation is wonky. Maybe it doesn't help that it's zooming all the time. Magic. You get these animations when you use your magic, which... Look, he zoomed up and down as he died. Yeah. Arabian Fight. I mean, at least they're not just using zoomed characters when they jump into the screen like that. They're actually using proper sequences of animation. So they look good at the front of the screen. But yeah, everything else zooming all the time and moving all the time. And the very, very wonky animations don't really help this one. So, anybody got any suggestions for what was likely going to be the last game after this one? What would you like to see in this stream that we've not played yet in either of the two streams? Uncle Pooh does not zoom. Overdrive I don't have the binary for anymore, Cow, and in MAME it doesn't work, so I can't play Overdrive. Unfortunately, I can't even find the repository to try and compile the build again. So, it was the Cyber Raw Cosmic Commentary was developed by Givro for Sega. So it was Japanese developers. This is a very messy game, but it's got zooming. Look, and visually messy. I mean, these pyramids look like dodgy digitized graphics, while the sprites look hand drawn. Look at my smelly lamp. Look at my dodgy animation as I push to the side of the screen. Look at the way I, for some reason, flew halfway across the screen over that hit. Look at the way these enemies are sliding around, but they're zooming. Did somebody not tell Sega that zooming is not a substitute for animation? Just looks so silly. Does this game have fans? I mean, it was a pirate ship. I don't think it had any kind of air conditioning. Broken Overdrive counts as zooming. I mean, if you want us to finish on broken games, I can put wheels of fire on. But probably not a good idea. Rambo 3, yes. Okay, Rambo 3. Yeah, I think I did say I played Rambo 3, so we will have a look at Rambo 3. Okay. One more credit on this. This just feels awkward and badly animated, and yeah. Oh look, they zoom down the steps. You know, System 32 hardware can zoom. Look, everybody gets weirdly skinny and then transformed into... What is this, like a first draft graphic, or is it? I guess it's meant to look hand drawn, like, but they look better drawn on the wall than when they. Honestly, this feels like some random prototype, but you know, it's a released Sega game. Then again, you know, Sega did do things like DD Crew that are equally terrible beat 'em ups without as messy zoom. Again, where's the animation? You've got smooth scaling, and then you've got attacks like this that are just moving 30 pixels at a time. 6 hands. You mean 6 swords? Or no, you've actually got 6 hands, 6 arms. Now I'm not even on the screen. So apparently it can't track where I am and keep the camera stable. You like this better than Double Dragon 3? I think it's a close call. I mean, at least it's not full of microtransactions. It's got that over Double Dragon 3. It doesn't have much else. The animation's not much better than Double Dragon 3. Adding some scaling does not make it better than Double Dragon. Okay. Who died? You all died. Oh, no, I died. Yeah, no. It's for 4 players if you want it to be even more... No idea what is going on. You know, if the screen isn't busy enough as it is, then yeah, you invite 3 friends to play. Arabian Fight was produced by Yu Suzuki. That is very difficult to believe. But you are the font of knowledge, Aussie guy, so I guess Yu Suzuki has had an off day too with this one. Because, you know, even by... You know, he knows how to do zooming. He knows how to do driving games that zoom well, not disjointed messes. So I don't know what happened here. I really don't know what happened here. This is a mess of a game. Visually a mess. I mean, it doesn't make the System 32 hardware look good. Anyway. Yes. Our final game for tonight is Rambo 3. Now, I'm playing the prototype version, which I think is one of the joystick sets, which means you can't do any kind of roll. Which is weird, because on the trackball set, you can do a dive roll if you move it quickly. On the joystick sets, there appears to be no way to roll or dive or dodge out the bullets, which is odd. But this set is the prototype set, which there's a decent cutting room floor article on this one that shows all the differences and makes it kind of obvious that this is an unfinished version. But the reason I'm playing this set is because it starts with the level we actually want to see. You didn't do very well with fighting games until Virtua Fighter. Yeah, I guess maybe they just wasn't his genre. So, just some scenes from the movie here. But obviously, we start with this level. It does look an awful lot like that Konami game we were playing earlier. But it's actually a bit better. Now, I think this is like the 2nd or 3rd level in the regular version, rather than the prototype. But you do really expect there to be some kind of dive in this type of game, and there isn't. You really just have to dodge the bullets, which is very, very odd. Because the trackball versions do let you do a little roll, although it's kind of awkward. You move the trackball more quickly to roll. And sometimes you accidentally roll when you don't want to, but at least you can. But then the joystick versions don't offer that at all. You thought maybe it's mapped to start. It isn't. There's just no roll feature in it. And the track demo doesn't roll, so I'm assuming there is just no roll feature. Yes, Rambo, your one-man army. That's how we're going to end this stream. You've got Yu Suzuki's gameography where he lists Arabian Fight. At least he doesn't try and pretend he didn't work on it. But I guess I don't think it's a game you can play and go, I was proud of that game. Unless it's got more depth than is obvious. And if you look past the very ugly visuals, it's fun. But no, I don't know why they didn't just add a roll button, but there isn't. I tried looking for a button in the unused bits and I couldn't find one, so I'm assuming there is just no roll. So. Let's see the tank zooming. Another game with lots of zooming military vehicles that I would have liked to look at was Mechanized Attack. Again, though, there are still enough games for Part 3. I mean, we've not even done the original out one yet. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm busy at the start of the week next week, so I'm not going to be able to jump straight into a stream at the start of the week. But I don't know when I'm going to do it. The game where Rambo is dancing around. Dancing Rambo. I give you a pixelated blessing, Black You. A very pixelated blessing. It's been zoomed up far too many times. But yeah, this does feel a little undeveloped as a concept. It's kind of like they wanted to produce something a bit like Cabal, but missed a few of the important elements. And yeah, this is the prototype version, but the final it basically plays the same for the stages that are in both, as far as we can tell. But it almost feels like, you know, it needs a life bar in place. It needs a number of enemies that are left to kill. It needs a roll on a button. It's not terrible. It just it feels a little, say, underbaked. There's a much earlier prototype. I guess that's not emulated though, is it, Aussie guy? With a much smaller crosshair. I think a smaller crosshair will be too small though. Addition of arrows, recovery of power. But yeah, you can see the zooming going on here. Zoom. Zoomed off into the distance. And we get another zoomy level here. I walked on a landmine. It's a very silly thing to do. It's also one of those where maybe, I mean, your crosshair is always straight above you. Could it have worked with dual crosshair and sort of other controls? I don't know. It is more fun than the Devastators by Konami. I think just simply because the pace is better. But it's definitely not the best example of this type of game. Again, if you play the regular versions, you'll see that the first stage is just more of a side-scrolling one, a bit more like MAME 1975. So it does mix up two different styles. Those graphics corrupt before they actually zoomed in fully there. They looked a bit wrong. Suddenly it got very busy. What was waiting on the other side of that tunnel for me? Nonsense is what. At least the barriers do protect you, though. And hide behind them. So, yeah, we are almost at the 3-hour mark. So, I'm going to think this is my last credit on this one. This one next. There's big tanky thing again. That must be huge. Oh, and now my defense has been blown up, so I'm at the mercy of all these bullets. I could still start doing this thing. Yes. Come on, how many more hits you take? More than I can deliver. Yes, we are over 3 hours. That was a bit of Rambo 3. So, I hope everybody has enjoyed the stream of, well, Games at Zoom, Part 2. Lots of games at Zoom across a number of different platforms, mostly arcade this time, but I think that's okay. Maybe I'll try and look up some more console ones if we do a Part 3 as well. But most of the time, if it's a console game, unless it's like PlayStation or Saturn, it's fake zoom. And I did want to look at more of the sort of real zooming. You know, as much as I do enjoy the fake zooming ones when they're done well. Seeing proper hardware zoom is always nice. Anyway, I can't possibly say thank you to everybody who has been in the chat individually, but it's always been nice to have company for these streams, and I'm glad everybody's been chatting away and having little discussions among yourselves, and obviously providing facts, providing little humorous comments about the game I've been playing and my inability to play them. But so take care, everybody. I will be say I don't know when I'll be next streaming, in fact, but I'll try and do a part 3 within the next week or two. Hopefully the next week. And I'm going to say then that I will catch you then. So a good night, everybody. It is 11 o'clock here. I'm sure it's different times in different places around the world, but if you're in Europe, it's probably bedtime. If you're in America, it's probably mid-afternoon or something like that. And if you're in Japan, I have no idea what time it is. So take care, everybody, and I will see you on the next one, I hope.